Superman. He's not just a superhero, he's the superhero. Since his first appearance, Superman has reminded us of our shared ideals, truth, justice, and the belief that a better tomorrow is always within reach. And what better way to explore his journey than through these suits that he's worn, each a reflection of the era, the actor, and the legacy of this enduring icon. From bold, striking colors that scream classic hero to modern, textured designs that redefined Superman, each suit tells a story, not just about the character, but about the filmmaker's vision and the times they represent. So today, we're taking on the ultimate ranking yet again. Every single live-action Superman suit. Which ones soared to greatness, and which ones fell short of the iconic S. Someone has to come in last, and that someone is David Wilson. In 1975, ABC produced a live-action recorded rendition of the musical It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman. And with it came one of the goofiest Superman suits ever to be shown to the viewing public. What makes this suit so frustrating isn't just how shoddy it looks, especially considering the costume standards of the time, but the top half of the suit nearly looks like a tube top with the amount of chest that Clark is flashing here. Frankly, this isn't really the Man of Steel, it's more like your drunk uncle stumbling in late to take you trick-or-treating because your mom is pulling a double shift at the Silver Diner. It's a far cry from the iconic image of Superman we've come to love. In a very strange turn of events, the most notoriously bad Superman costume of all time did not place in last. We are, of course, talking about the tragedy that is the unreleased Superman Lives suit from the ill-fated Tim Burton project that never saw the light of day. Much like Burton's take on Batman, this suit featured a heavy dose of rubberized plastic, but that's just the beginning of the Burton touch here. The most batshit crazy feature was the addition of LED lights embedded throughout the suit, meant to illuminate Superman in a way that defied all logic or necessity. To make matters even stranger, Burton described the suit as a functioning, living, gelatinous symbiote that would engulf Superman's body, a concept that, to be honest, sounds pretty cool and would have beaten Spider-Man to the punch when Venom appeared in Spider-Man 3, but I think it would have been very indicative of the super tight, ultra-muscled outfits that were reflected in 90s comics. Everything about the suit just screams over-designed. It's a chaotic mishmash of ideas that fails at almost every level, despite being a cool concept. It ultimately comes off as the blueprint for every overly complicated, over-CGI'd superhero suit that would be so prevalent in the following decades. I'm looking at you, Green Lantern. The Superman suit worn by Brian Holden in Holy Musical Batman isn't terrible, at least in concept. The fundamentals are there, but the execution leaves a lot to be desired. The obviously dyed underwear, the lack of any notable physique, these make for a pretty underwhelming and unaesthetic Superman. That said, it's important to remember that this is a parody and intentionally leans into the sillier side of things. Given the comedic tone of the production, I'm willing to cut Brian some slack here, but let's just say this suit doesn't exactly fly high by any stretch of the imagination. This suit comes with a bit of controversy. Mayo Khan, the actor wearing it, famously claimed to be the original model for Superman from the comics, a claim that has been widely disputed over the years, most notably by the estates of Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, the creators of Superman. Superman collector Danny Fuchs suggests that Mayo Khan may have been confused about history and proposed that Khan might have actually modeled for the Fleischer Studios animated Superman rather than being the original model for the character. But anyway, back to the suit itself. The design is reminiscent of Superman's earliest comic book appearances, with a strongman aesthetic that matches that era's vision of heroism. However, the lack of boots gives it like a pajama quality, which adds a charming but unintentional personal touch. While it's Far from iconic, it's definitely an interesting relic from the early days of Superman's legacy and doesn't deserve to be in last place. Smallville definitely laid the groundwork for the CW's signature brand of angsty superhero dramas, with Tom Welling as its definitive Superman. And this version is The Blur, which is a look that Clark Kent adopts during a phase of self-discovery, something that is a major trope of this era, well, I guess any era of the CW. The suit is less of a traditional costume and more of a casual look, a black Superman t-shirt, jeans, and a long black duster. Sure, it's not a Superman suit in the classic sense, but it's undeniably cool no matter how you look at it. Iconic? Maybe not. Irresistible? Absolutely. In 1940, Ray Middleton donned this suit at the New York World's Fair, marking the first ever public portrayal of the Superman character. This costume captures the Golden Age aesthetic with a simple, almost handmade quality, which is reminiscent of the comic books. It's a design, again, that nods to the strongman imagery of the era, featuring a shorter cape and larger trunks, both hallmarks of the time. The boots, resembling those worn by professional wrestlers, reflect the sport's rising popularity in the 1940s, something David Cornsweet recently cited as a major reason for Superman to get his trunks back in his upcoming movie. The World's Fair suit itself is a lighter blue, similar to the one worn by Mayo Khan, though the color has darkened with age. While modest by today's standards, it's definitely a historic milestone in Superman's legacy. Back to old Tommy Welling, this look bears a resemblance to the cover of Superman Earth 1 and made its debut in Smallville's final season, Season 10. While the jacket isn't terrible on its own, it's hard to classify as a true Superman costume. That said, it is a step up from many of the other outfits on this list, thanks to its simplicity and relatability. The comics have taken cues from this casual, grounded style, showing Superman in jeans and a jacket on more than one occasion, which gives Superman a sort of everyday hero look instead of the larger-than-life icon that he is. And while I appreciate those kinds of looks, I do prefer the classic costumes. While Tom Welling was the original CW Superman, Tyler Hoechlin truly redefined and refined the role. However, not every suit he wore was a hit. Up next is one of the weaker designs from his Supergirl era. This suit takes clear inspiration from Superboy Prime's armor from Infinite Crisis, but with a different twist. It's designed to protect him from characters on the show who have kryptonite embedded in them, similar to Metallo. The suit itself isn't awful, but with better effects and more accurate proportions, it could have been a much stronger design. Kirk Alyn's suit marks the beginning of the truly great Superman costumes. It's a solid representation of the golden to early Silver Age Superman. This suit is one of the first, if not the very first, to showcase the redesigned red and yellow S on the chest. The actor's well-proportioned build works perfectly with this suit, and the boots are a significant improvement over those seen in the Mayo Khan and Ray Middleton days. Additionally, this suit brings us much closer to the iconic sky blue color that has become synonymous with Superman, putting it in the company of some of the best costumes on this list. So from here on out, it only gets better. In the third season of Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, a storyline was introduced where Superman returns with other Kryptonians to New Krypton. This was after Superman's death in the comics at the hands of Doomsday. Upon his return, he donned a sleek black resurrection suit, which became immediately iconic. The suit on the show was clearly inspired by this comic book version, though it was reimagined as a more traditional Kryptonian outfit. It's essentially an exact recreation of the comic book outfit, however, the silver is swapped out for blue. Personally, I think the suit would have looked better if they kept the S silver, which seems to add a bit more flair, at least for me. I do put this above the previous entry in the list just because I love the black suit and I think it is really, really slick in this version, but it is one of the worst black suits that we've seen thus far. Next is a lightning round of suits, all inspired by Christopher Reeve or George Reeves' classic Superman look. I'm grouping all of these together because if I didn't, then we'd just be here all day. This includes the suits worn by Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, the one from The History of Invulnerability, Gerard Christopher, and John Hames Newton. These suits are very close replicas to the iconic Christopher Reeve suit, which ranks much higher on the list. I'll dive into the improvements when I get to them, but for now, enjoy Ben Affleck lying on the ground, probably just having finished a cigarette and a healthy McDonald's Big Mac. Henry Cavill's test suit actually dropped a spot on this list compared to its previous ranking. Though it never made it into the final cut of Man of Steel, it remains notable due to the controversy it sparked. The suit closely resembles the final version that we saw in the film, with one key difference. The House of L insignia on Superman's chest is completely devoid of yellow. This design choice is reminiscent of the emblem in Kingdom Come. Additionally, the color of the suit here is among the darkest that we've ever seen, which drew complaints from hardcore Superman fans who felt it was becoming a little too dark. But little did they know, Zack Snyder could go even darker. Tyler Hoechlin's first suit has climbed a spot since its previous ranking. It's clearly based on the New 52 Superman suit, a design that's been pretty controversial, especially among those who don't read comics and just take to Twitter. The yellow belt is gone, replaced with red, and the classic red trunks are also missing. As I mentioned before, the color of the suit is noticeably darker now, which is a trend we'll see throughout this list. The one element I'm not a fan of is how the cape attaches. It's an awkward look that reminds me of Superman's design in Injustice: Gods Among Us, which I'm not a big fan of. Here we have another classic Superman suit, this time from the Broadway musical It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman. This costume is a fantastic representation of the Superman suits from that era, featuring a medium blue color that's actually a bit darker than most of the suits that came before it. It's an outlier in the color progression that we've seen so far, which knocks it a little bit. Additionally, the cape is noticeably shorter than those seen in later iterations of the suit. Ghost Rider is back with another entry, but this one was eventually shown in The Flash. It didn't get left just to pictures that we see in documentaries. Although, when it was in The Flash, it was a total CGI abomination. But I can't let the sins of The Flash knock points off. This one embodies Tim Burton's unique style to a T, but doesn't have the downside of being a little bit too over-designed. Having famously reimagined Batman's cape and cowl into full battle armor for his films, it's no surprise that his first design for Superman would follow a similar path. The suit features a darker blue finish over rubberized plastic, with a particularly odd codpiece replacing the classic trunks, a design choice that would go on to influence many subsequent superhero suits. While the color scheme is pretty spot on, the armored approach gives the suit a somewhat stiff, cumbersome look, but I do think all in all, it is pretty sleek. And let's not overlook the chest hair peeking out at the top, an added bonus no doubt introduced for the women of the late 90s. I'd like to correct a mistake that has been bothering me since the first list. I'm moving Dean Cain down a few spots. While he was considered by many to be a Superman during his run, and is most famously known for that role, his suit deserves a second look. The suit features a deeper blue color compared to earlier versions, along with a subtle sheen we hadn't seen before. Beyond that, it hits all the right marks: a perfectly sized cape with the right length and color, well-proportioned trunks, and the classic yellow belt. Dean Cain may not be at the top, but he was definitely a solid representation of Superman on the small screen. It's really just the blue and the silvery sheen to the blue on the suit that knocks it down a couple points for me this time around. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. sort of. Originally ranked at number 10, this suit is still a great one, but as time has passed and newer suits have come out, it's unfortunately dropped a few spots. We have Henry Cavill's suit from Man of Steel. This suit is known for featuring the darkest blue ever seen on a Superman costume, and its color palette was highly controversial, something that still sparks debate today. Perhaps people couldn't see this Superman as the beacon of hope that they were used to, given the more somber tones. The House of El insignia is also darker and has a copper-like hue, but it fits the chest perfectly. The suit noticeably lacks the traditional red trunks, similar to the New 52 version seen in the Supergirl suit. But one thing that really brings this suit up for me is the texture on it. I think the tactile visage that the suit gives off makes it a lot more real to me. I love the way that the texture was embedded into the suit, all from top to bottom, including the boots and the insignia. Despite all the controversy, the suit remains a fan favorite and a favorite of mine, thanks in no small part to Henry Cavill's sheer presence as an absolute unit of a man. The suit from Justice League features a significantly brighter blue compared to the versions seen in Batman v Superman or Man of Steel. The addition of gold accents on Superman's belt and a slightly smaller S insignia set it apart from previous iterations. What I'm really not a fan of in this particular suit is how the abs and the chest are sort of brought out. I think that was pretty unnecessary given that Henry Cavill already has the perfect Superman physique. Personally, I do still think the suit is great. I think the blue is a lot better than the Man of Steel suit, and if it included modernized red trunks, it could have easily cracked the top 3, and yet, even with all that, I still don't think it's the best Henry Cavill Superman suit. George Reeves, not to be confused with Christopher Reeve, is another iconic Superman. His costume is straightforward, a faithful representation of the Golden Age comics. Notice the smaller S on the chest and the oversized, almost granny panty red trunks, which were reminiscent of the ones worn by strongmen during the era, as we've mentioned plenty of times. It's important to remember that many of these appearances were in black and white, which likely altered how the colors were perceived. The suit features the classic lighter blue from top to bottom, paired with crimson boots and a cape. Together, these elements create a nearly perfect representation of Superman from the Golden Age. Sorry, Zoomers. I don't know why I'm calling out Zoomers, but Tyler's black suit from Supergirl is really badass, and anyone who disagrees clearly doesn't appreciate the 90s. Oh, that's why I'm calling them out, because they're young and I'm old and fragile. Featured in CW's Elseworlds crossover miniseries, this suit is a near-perfect take on the iconic 1990s Superman Resurrection suit with one epic twist: a full-length black cape. The suit also includes black boots, which Superman didn't wear in the comics, but it's a solid addition. However, there is one downside: the cape connects to the L insignia on Superman's chest, something that I've criticized before for being unnecessary and dumb-looking. It doesn't serve a functional purpose and disrupts the uniformity I prefer across all costumes. Back-to-back black suits. Somebody cue some AC/DC. Some said it couldn't happen, but we made it happen. The second best suit Henry Cavill ever wore as Superman makes its appearance in Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think this is the perfect version of that black and silver Superman suit, and I doubt that we'll ever see anything better. Again, the texture just really enhances this suit beyond what a normal sort of fabric would look like. I think it really tells the story of this alien brought to Earth, and I really appreciate it for what it is. In Zack Snyder's Justice League, we get to see him put it to full use when he goes up against the dastardly new god Steppenwolf, and I absolutely love every single second of that fight, and I never won't love it. I mean, how could you not? Many consider Christopher Reeve to be the quintessential Superman. This suit, often referred to as the evil Superman suit, appears in Superman 3 when Superman is corrupted and tainted by kryptonite. Under its influence, he behaves selfishly and irrationally, even getting drunk in one memorable scene. The suit itself is a darker version of Reeve's iconic look, designed to reflect the slightly corrupted state of the hero. In this version, Superman engages in some classic super vandalism, like blowing out the Olympic flame and straightening the Leaning Tower of Pisa. This is the most evil Superman that they could imagine back in the days, and if they could see what we've done with evil Supermen in today's landscape, they would be absolutely horrified. Get used to seeing Brandon Routh on this screen, because he's going to appear quite a bit from here on out. His Superman suit in Superman Returns is iconic, even if the film itself didn't quite live up to expectations. I still remember the excitement when the suit was first revealed in magazines, but more than just the costume itself, it was really Routh's portrayal that brought it to life. He was an incredible Superman who, in an alternate universe, could have become the most iconic version of the character. Could you imagine his version teaming up with Christopher Nolan's Batman? That would just be, the stuff of dreams and would have beat the MCU to the punch. The casting in Superman Returns was absolutely spot on. This suit takes inspiration from Christopher Reeve's classic look, but updates the trunks and features a much smaller S on the chest. It also includes the House of L insignia on the belt, which adds a nice touch to the design. Tyler Hoechlin did something no other Superman has managed to do: get Nick's wife to watch multiple seasons of a comic book show. This is truly incredible, offering a perfect modernization of Superman's classic look. It closely mirrors Superman's appearance in the DC Rebirth comics, and I think it's a fantastic update. Yes, the blue is a bit darker than I'd prefer, but Tyler wears it flawlessly. The chest insignia is striking, and the red belt with the smaller emblem adds a nice touch. It's a great example of the modern, quote-unquote, less is more approach. Still, even as great as this suit is, I don't think that it's his best. Get ready to cry, haters, because we here at Key Issues are loving David Cornsweet's new Superman suit. Honestly, James Gunn just doesn't miss. Sure, there are some elements I'm not completely sold on. The extra lines feel a bit busy, and the material looks a little too thick for absolute comfort, but the color palette is spot on. With that lighter blue, it feels much more hopeful and iconic, not to say that the other suits on this list don't feel that way. David looks fantastic as Clark, with a unique yet perfect frame for the role. And the return of the red trunks is a very welcome touch. As I mentioned before, it was David himself who pushed to have the red trunks. James was initially in the no trunks camp. So I'm so happy with how this suit turned out in live action, and I'm confident that we are in good hands with the rest of the DC universe. Henry Cavill and Zack Snyder's second take on Superman's suit gave us something truly remarkable. This version is noticeably brighter than the one from Man of Steel, reflecting Superman's evolution within the franchise. It marks the moment when people began to see him as the symbol of hope that he would be known for, even though the overall tone of the film remained pretty dark and saturated. You can really see the suit's vibrancy during a scene where Superman addresses Congress. I mean, overall, I've talked about this design specifically a lot, and it's a fantastic look, and here it is at its best in my opinion, even if the final film didn't quite land as I would have hoped. When the first clip of Tyler Hoechlin's original Superman-inspired suit hit the internet, it felt like time stood still. The suit, combined with the unforgettable scene where Superman saves a young boy from a car plummeting off an overpass, was nothing short of iconic, a word that we've been using a lot in this video. Tyler's upbeat, optimistic portrayal of Superman with his fresh-faced charm left a lasting impact. His physique perfectly complements the light blue and ruby red of the costume. The red and black L insignia from the early days of his crime-fighting career have become one of those insignias that you just know harkens back to the original comic books. And of course, the trunks, an essential element for true Superman suits. This suit is arguably one of the best ever created for the small screen. But unfortunately for Tyler, Brandon Routh's appearance on this list is the highest for any TV Superman. Brandon Routh portrayed the same Superman as Christopher Reeve in the Arrowverse, meaning his appearance on the CW are canonically tied to that iconic version of the character. His Kingdom Come inspired suit in Crisis on Infinite Earths is nothing short of incredible. It features a blue palette similar to his next suit, along with the classic black and red insignia, making it a standout in both design and legacy. But there is another version of this suit, which I think is a lot better, so I'll go into more detail when we get to that suit. The greatest Superman of all time deserves one of the greatest suits of all time, and Christopher Reeve is that Superman. Widely regarded as the definitive image of Silver to Bronze Age Superman, Reeve's portrayal remains iconic. His suit features a subtle sheen and, most importantly, the perfect sky blue color, which just embodies the classic line, "Look up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman." The cape reaching mid-calf is the perfect shade of red, while the House of L insignia is just the right size, bold without being overpowering. The belt and trunks are flawlessly comic book accurate, rounding out the classic look. But what truly elevates this suit is Christopher Reeve himself. He effortlessly embodied both the awkward Clark Kent and the charismatic Superman, making audiences believe in the hero that he portrayed. When Reeve donned the costume and spoke as Superman, you couldn't help but believe he was the Man of Steel. The tagline for the original Superman film, "You'll believe a man can fly," still resonates today. And in 2017, Superman was inducted into the Library of Congress's National Film Registry. This suit and the actor who wore it will always be the most iconic Superman of all time. But I don't believe that it is the best suit of all time. This may come as a shock to you, but Nick passed this video on to me, and he will have to live with the truth. Brandon Routh's final Superman suit, seen in Crisis on Infinite Earths, is without a doubt the best Superman suit of all time. This suit is iconic in every sense, and it achieves near perfection in almost every aspect, from design to the actor wearing it. First, let's talk about the color. I think the blue is absolutely flawless. It strikes the perfect balance, vibrant but not too bright, capturing the essence of Superman's iconic look without veering into cartoonish territory. It's a hue that feels timeless, evoking the classic comic book feel while staying grounded in the modern era. It's just the perfect updated blue color that I think Superman needs to be punchier. The cape as well is a standout. It flows in a way that makes it almost seem like it's alive. Sure, we only see it in the one scene, but I mean, just look at it. Then there's the emblem. The modernized S is a perfect update to the costume, a subtle yet effective change that brings the symbol into the 21st century without sacrificing the classic look. It's bold, but it's, again, not overwhelming. And it's a sharper design that makes it feel like a natural evolution of Superman's iconic insignia. It's a fitting tribute to the past while pushing forward into the future, much like Routh's portrayal of Christopher Reeve's original Superman character. And of course, we can't overlook Brandon himself. He's no stranger to the suit, having worn it before in Superman Returns, but here he brings an even greater depth to his character. His portrayal in Crisis on Infinite Earths channels the strength, the wisdom, and, above all else, the kindness that Superman is known for, all while embracing the legacy of the character. Routh's performance in this final suit is a seamless blend of nostalgia and modern sensibilities. And it's clear the man was born to wear this costume. But what really sets this suit apart is how it stands as a culmination of everything Superman's costume has represented over the decades. It's the perfect balance between the classic elements and modern updates. From the color palette to the iconic S, every detail has been carefully crafted to honor the character's history while making him feel fresh and relevant. This suit encapsulates the timeless nature of Superman, making it the ultimate version for both old and new fans alike, at least in my opinion. So while many Superman suits have come and gone, Brandon's final look in Crisis on Infinite Earths doesn't just stand out. It redefines what a Superman suit should be. It's the pinnacle of modern superhero design. It's not too busy. It's exactly what it needs to be. Small changes, small touches to update already iconic design from the source material. It's a fitting tribute to the Man of Steel that will undoubtedly be my favorite Superman suit for many years to come. And if all of that didn't convince you that Brandon Routh's Superman suit that we see in Crisis on Infinite Earths isn't the best Superman suit of all time, then you are truly lost. No, I'm just kidding. I love Christopher Reeve's suit. It's just a preference of mine. I like the more modern look that really encapsulates everything that we've seen from the beginning till now. It takes the best of all the designs and puts them into one, and I just can't think of a better suit for a more modern, mature version of Christopher Reeve's Superman to wear. But that's all we've got for you guys today. That's our definitive ranking. Well, maybe not definitive. Nick would have put Christopher Reeve at number 1, but I digress. He has to live with his sins for passing this video on to me. Thank you so much for watching. Remember the motto, it's Superman over everything, and we'll see you guys next time.